I think few people are taking the time to actually appreciate the impact that Tyrese Haliburton is having on the 2024-2025 Pacers. And I think part of it is because he's having a down year in terms of scoring and or assisting, especially compared to his 23-24 season. And it's kind of led people to believe that he is overall worse this season. But true Pacers fans know and true NBA fans know that Tyrese is having a fantastic season once again. And if you've been watching, he is an absolutely fantastic player and he deserves to be in one of your top 15 spots. And that's why I'm here today, to convince you that he deserves an All-NBA spot this season. Just to add some context, a big reason that people are kind of undervaluing Tyrese is because he had a pretty poor start to the season. He started out the season shooting it poorly from three, and he wasn't scoring well either. He wasn't getting to the rim. He wasn't getting past people. And it was overall just kind of hard to watch, especially if you just had an All-NBA season prior. So it's reasonable to kind of devalue him when that's when he's showing you. But I think since January, the start of the new year, Tyrese has been one of the best players in the NBA, and he's been one of the most efficient. And that's where I want to start. Tyrese has been an absolute monster of efficiency during the 2024-2025 season. Overall, he's shooting around 47.3% from the field, 38.8% from three, 85% from the line. So these are all really, really solid numbers, and they're numbers that you really want from an efficient playmaking point guard, which is exactly what Tyrese is. Since the 2025 All-Star break, though, is when Tyrese really takes his leap, right? Since the 2025 All-Star break, Tyrese is shooting 53.3% from the field, 44% from three, 86.4% from the line. So his efficiency jumped. And a big part of all of those numbers is why he is averaging the numbers he is over the season. Like I said, he had an extremely poor start to the start of the season. So a lot of his numbers since January and the new year are why he is shooting the ball so much better. To further break down some of Tyrese's efficiency numbers, I want to just talk about how talented a scorer he really is, right? Tyrese is 8th in the league in shooting talent, shooting 49% from long mid-range, which is the 81st percentile, 55% from short mid-range, which is the 97th percentile on floater range, 40% from non-corner threes, which is in the 81st percentile, and then 43% on corner threes, which is in the 67th percentile. Overall, Tyrese is an extremely efficient shooter and one of the best that the league has seen, hence why he's 8th overall. 13th in finishing talent to add to his scoring ability, right? Shooting 72% at the rim, which is in the 93rd percentile. Mind you, this includes bigs, this includes forwards, this includes players a lot bigger than Tyrese. So being in the 93rd percentile is extremely impressive. And then Tyrese is shooting 58% overall from two, right? Which is 5th from among all guards, and actually higher than SGA, who ranks 6th. I will say it is on lower volume than SGA. SGA is all about getting to the mid-range and getting to the rim. So obviously Tyrese isn't going to do it as much as him. They have different play styles. But the fact that he's even in the same conversations as SGA in terms of finishing efficiency should go to show how good a player he really is. While on the topic of Tyrese's finishing and shooting, I want to give a shout out to AutomaticNBA over on Twitter, as his graphics on the best shooters and the best finishers in the NBA for the 2024-2025 season is how I was able to kind of accurately gauge Tyrese's ability comparatively to the rest of the league. So shout out to AutomaticNBA over on Twitter. The next thing I want to talk about with Tyrese is his clutch factor. Tyrese has been an extremely clutch player throughout the entirety of this NBA season. Even with his rough start, he was still hitting extremely clutch shots towards the end of games at the start of the season, which has been ridiculously impressive overall. In terms of clutch, Tyrese ranks 2nd in clutch time 3-point percentage, 4th in clutch time field goal percentage, and 5th in clutch time steals per game. The NBA defines clutch time as the final 5 minutes of a game within 5 points. Literally just looking at some of the shots Tyrese has taken throughout the end of games this season, it should be extremely obvious how clutch he is. I mean, just look at the shot that he hit over the Milwaukee Bucks and over Giannis. I think that should say literally everything you need to know about how clutch Tyrese really is. I think the one aspect of Tyrese's game that hasn't really gone unrecognized is Tyrese's ability to run an offense. Tyrese is the engine of the Indiana Pacers, and he's the reason their offense is so high level. He ranks third in the league in assists per game at 9.2 assists. And then he ranks first in the league in assist to usage ratio, meaning he is averaging more assists on lesser usage than other players. Among all players averaging 20% usage rate and 1,000 plus minutes, he's the first. He increases his team's offensive rating by 7 when on the court, which is a similar impact to Luka Doncic. And he averages the lowest assist to turnover ratio of anyone averaging more than 7 assists per game. I'd like to point out that the only 2 assists people with higher assists than Tyrese are Nikola Jokic and Trae Young, and both of those players average more than a 30% usage rate, while Tyrese is hovering around a 25% usage rate. So he has the ball in his hands less, and he's only slightly below them in terms of assisting. That should just tell you how smart a player Tyrese really is, and that should just tell you how effective he is at getting off the ball and making effective and good passes. Everything that I've said here today should convince you that Tyrese Haliburton is worthy of an All-NBA nod, regardless of his measly 18 points per game. I think Tyrese is the kind of player who impacts the game in so many more ways than just his box score stats, that looking only at his 18 points per game is kind of doing him a disservice as a player. Now, I realize most people are very much points, but that's not the only way to kind of run a fantastic offense. And Tyrese is a perfect example of that. The best example I can give is the NBA playoffs are going on right now. In the first game, Tyrese Haliburton had 10 points, but he had 12 assists and his team was up by 20. And it wasn't because he wasn't impacting. It wasn't because he was just making the right read. It's because he was such a threat that he would get double teamed, and he made the right read off of those double teams. Tyrese is that great a player, and he deserves your respect, and he deserves All-NBA. I want to take the time to thank you all for kind of listening and watching me talk about one of my favorite players within the NBA. I've wanted to kind of start this YouTube thing for a long time, and I'm glad I got to start it with one of my favorite players, Tyrese Haliburton. I'm sure he's not going to be the last player I talk about. I have a billion different videos I want to make about basketball, and I'm very much new to kind of talking about it on the internet. So I hope you guys kind of bear with me. I hope you guys take the time to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you guys think about Tyrese. Does he really deserve All-NBA like I think he does? Or do you think some other player deserves to make it over him? I'm more than open to a debate, and I'm more than open to a conversation about it. And I hope that we can generate some good vibes out of this. Thank you all.